Thank you, Ronnie. And as he said, I do live in Abingdon with 3 teenage daughters, so any extra prayers you may have, I'll certainly take those. It is a great pleasure to be here. I have a presentation, and just in full disclosure, for some of it, I'll be seeing it for the first time. So if I stumble through it, just bear with me on that, just with some updates and things in it. And PowerPoints and presentations are good, but please, if you have questions or something specific you want to know about, I'm great with that approach as well. It's just hard to address everything in a presentation like this, and I'll try not to drop anything. And let me apologize too for my dress. I would normally put on a nice long sleeve shirt and a tie and looked real good for you, but I couldn't get a long sleeve shirt on over my cast, so that didn't work out very well. So on the first slide, as you can see, proudly serving since 1971. The resolution to establish Sullivan County EMS was actually in 1970. Actually went in service sometime in 71, not exactly sure when that was. I don't think Pat was on the commission back in 1970, but he didn't vote for that. But anyway, we've been around a long time. It's obviously our mission to protect the well-being of Sullivan County residents and visitors by providing the highest quality of emergency care in the most timely and cost-effective method, keeping in mind that, next to creating life, the most important thing mankind can do is to save one. That's funny. Ronnie and I just had a conversation on my thoughts about saving lives, but I won't get into that in here right now. So obviously, one of the key things with this is high quality, timely is important. As you know, we talked about the new stations, that's helped with that. We'll get into that a little bit more. And cost effective, and I don't want to get ahead of myself on things, but those are quality, cost effective, and just doing everything the right way is the key to all of this. Like I said, a little bit of the history. The resolution was passed in 1970 due to a need for the county to provide a professional ambulance service. And we began with 4 ambulances. And also, when I came here in 1990, well, that was a long time ago. Why am I still here? We still ran 4 ambulances in 1990. And I may get off and mess my slideshow up. That's okay. I'm just... we had 2 ambulances inside the city of Kingsport running the west end of the Sullivan County. We had a truck in Bluntville and a truck in, well, when it first started, it was really on Volunteer Parkway, for those of you that are familiar with that end of the county. So most of the work was being done down here with these trucks, because that's where the biggest population that we covered was, because there were still some rescue squads up there doing some transports and things. So yeah, I don't know that this number is actually correct now, but we do serve the whole county, and a lot of people don't understand that. We cover the entire county as a primary provider, with the exception of inside the city limits of Bristol. But we do still respond a lot inside the city of Bristol under a mutual aid agreement, helping them out if they need some assistance up there. So we really go from the county line, Johnson County, Sullivan County line to the Hawkins County line. It's a big area. As you can see, we are the designated primary provider for Sullivan County and Kingsport. Bluff City would be in that as well. Provide mutual aid for City of Bristol. So, and of course, it's not just our citizens. We have a lot of people, as you know, that come in and out of the county for different reasons, whether they live here or not. So here's a little snapshot of what we do. So we respond to approximately 29,000 responses a year. Now, when I started here, that number in 1990 was about 7,500. So that's how much it's grown in the past 30 years. Now we respond with 10 911 ambulances, and on any given day, 3 to 4 BLS ambulances. Sometimes they're ALS, but these are for 911 response. We have 3 or 4 other ambulances that do some interfacility transfers, discharges, things like that. And we do maintain our average response time of less than the national standard, 7 minutes, 59 seconds. So, as that says 7 stations, just a few months ago, that was 6 stations instead of 7. As you know, we had one of our stations was over on Wilcox Drive there at BAE, at the entrance to that, at the gate. And we've since closed that station and opened 2 more, with the one on Sullivan Street and the one over on Gibson Mill. And as I mentioned, those BLS trucks, that were running 3 and 4 of those. So we were running 2 911 ambulances and 3 911 ambulances, and those 3 or 4 BLS trucks out of that one station. Got a little crowded when they were there, which was mainly at shift change and things like that. But the biggest thing was when we were moving out and were asked to move and build new stations, it was better to build 2 than 1. And in reality, we're doing 3. But the third one won't be a 911 response. It will be for those convalescent trucks. It will also be a storage facility for us, and for our spare trucks, and also for all of our equipment and supplies, which is a lot. But with these moves, don't have a ton of data yet, since we've just opened the stations recently, but response times have obviously decreased. Having a station over there at the Gibson Millstone Drive area has decreased response times to that area of town, Lane Garden, lower end of Bloomingdale, all that area. So it's been absolutely a positive thing. I have to thank for that the city of Kingsport, again, as I've done in the past, for donating the piece of property for the station at Gibson Mill and Stone Drive. That was huge for us. County Commission really stepped up, provided the funding for all these stations. So kudos to them, and supporting EMS, and really supporting EMS is supporting our citizens. It really is. That's the reason we're here. So those 2 stations have been a godsend and just a huge help with this response time. Can't wait to get some more data later on down the road after we get some time in there. Change the zones around a little bit. Chief Addington back here, I'm sure, can attest to how easy that is, changing zones around things. I had no idea it was that hard. I didn't know what an IRA or all those other things were until I got in there trying to change some zones around. It's complicated. Regionally, again, we provide mutual aid to surrounding counties during disaster responses, or any time that they just get overwhelmed. Like I said, we've been in Bristol, we've been over in Scott County, Virginia occasionally, we're down in Hawkins County occasionally. It just takes running out of resources. So we all help each other out when that happens. We are a partner in a Region 1 ambulance strike team. And what that is a strike team. In this sense, it's 5 ambulances, a leader, and a leader vehicle. And we have been deployed multiple times, and those are usually to hurricane responses. We've been to Florida a couple times. We've been to South Carolina, North Carolina. It's a great asset. It was designed by several years ago by the state of Tennessee. I actually sat on that committee to do that. We used some of the Homeland Security money to buy the equipment to supply for these folks, because they have to be self-sustained and take care of themselves for up to 72 hours without anything. So they have to be able to eat, drink, sleep, stay warm, stay cool, whatever it may be, for up to 72 hours without anybody providing any additional provisions. They've got some interesting stories from some of the trips they've been on. Really wish I had some of those pictures up here. They've done anything from evacuate hospitals in the middle of hurricanes to run. We've had Sullivan County ambulances in Jacksonville, Florida, pulling out of their stations, running 911 calls inside the city of Jacksonville, Florida. It's interesting when that happens. Now with this strike team, it is a region thing. We do lead it here in Sullivan County. We have the trailer, the equipment, the leaders usually send trucks, 1-2 trucks, people, and then wherever else in the region. And the region is an 8-county region up here, but we have to send 5 ambulances and a leader, so it may be us. Washington County, Johnson City EMS may send some folks, Greene County, Hawkins, whoever. But it's a great thing, and something that as an EMS director I would hope if we got in a need for something like that, people would come and help us. And we do, we get reimbursed for our expenditures from FEMA when this is all done. There's a compact done prior to us being deployed between the state requesting, state Tennessee agreeing to go. So it's not on our dime, it's on theirs. We have to fund it till we get reimbursed, but it's there. This is a huge thing here with the program that we work with Ballot on for our cardiac care. We call it the STEMI network. It's a certain type of heart attack. When someone has those, I know you've all seen the commercials over time. They really pushed it way back when. If you're having chest pain, call 911. Please do. It's not for us because we're looking for something to do. We got plenty to do, but it does save heart muscle. That's the whole focus of this program. If we can get out there, do the 12 lead EKGs in the field, notify the hospital that you're having the quote STEMI, again, that certain type of heart attack. They mobilize the teams, even if it's middle of the night, weekends, holidays, whatever. They call them at home, get them out of bed, have them on the way to the hospital long before we ever get there with the patient. And the whole idea with that is to get them in a cath lab center and get the artery opened up there, because that's where true definitive care is for these. They can give the clot busting medications, and there's certain cases they still have to do that. But this is just amazing. We've won awards, I don't know how many years in a row. The Gold Plus awards for this. Every one that we run is timed, everyone is looked at, everyone is counted into this program. And we have, for the type of area that we cover, I don't know how you can get much better times than we have. And really what it means for the patient, sure, at times it can mean life and death, but quite often it also means quality of life. A lot of folks have survived heart attacks in the past, but then didn't have much quality of life. Couldn't walk to the mailbox without getting short of breath afterwards or something like that. But the whole idea of this is to save as much heart muscle as possible. And there's tons of statistics that backs this up. It works well. We were actually the first in the state of Tennessee to do this. They talked about trying to do some pilot programs and things like that, and I'll be honest, they just made it too complicated. You get too many people to go to too many committees sometimes, and you just make things too hard to do. So what we did was figured out, all right, who matters? Who has to have skin? Who has skin in the game, and who's going to make this work? Well, we figured out it was EMS, it was the emergency room physicians, and it was the cardiologist. And honestly, it was corporate leadership at that time with Wellmont. And you get all those people in a room and decide, here's what we need to do, how do we get there and do it? And we figured it out. And we actually become a model for the state, and I was fortunate enough to get to go sit on some committees and sit on a panel actually to let other folks across the state ask questions on how to do this. And again, you get everybody together on the same team, pulling in the same direction, and you make it happen. Knoxville couldn't do it. They tried. You just got to have the same goal, which is patient and not greed in mind, and that's how this happened. And I have to give a ton of credit at the time to Wellmont, and now to Ballot as they've continued it. It works great. We also have USAR, Urban Search and Rescue and Tactical Rescue Responses. We've had folks responding to floods over South Carolina, Nashville, different places over the years. There's unfortunately been plenty to do. Operationally, well, there's a number we didn't update. You could probably add another $1 million to that or so now, just due to how much we've grown. The trucks we've added, personnel, and well, personnel's where your money's at, right? That as much as I fuss about buying a $200,000 ambulance, it's still personnel's where it's at. But they're worth it. We got to have them, and they're worth every penny they get and more. Now, with this, I don't know that that's to say no, but operationally, we do cover our costs operationally. We operate off our revenues through the insurance companies, Medicare, Medicaid, commercial insurance carriers, things like that. That pays for our operational costs. I'm very proud of that. We operate very lean. but at the same time, going back to that first slide, it's high quality care. We don't skimp on what we carry, the equipment we carry, the medications we carry. Some of that stuff gets extremely expensive, but we want to carry the right things to treat patients the right way, and we do that. But we are fortunate enough to be able to cover our operational costs with no taxpayer money involved in that. Going back through, well, maybe I'll get to something that covers that in a minute. I want to talk about something we added to the ambulances a minute ago. We do provide, if you call 911 inside this county, you get a paramedic, you get advanced life support. That's not the case everywhere you go, but that's what we try to do. If you're we're going to try to send the highest trained people with the best equipment possible out when you call 911. We do tons and tons of training. That's where I was earlier, and today was one of the training, or this week. Our training dates are several days long because we can't get everybody in there at one time, but we want to be able to get everybody in there. So this is one of the weeks as things are really tough right now. Recruitment, retention in our business is really hard, as it is police, fire, everywhere. It's getting harder and harder to get people into this industry. Unfortunately, to work for EMS, if you come put in an application with me, you have to have a license in your pocket to function as a medical provider. That's hard. You have to go to school. You have to get that. You have to start out, down here at EMT Basic, EMT Advanced, go to paramedic, all these things. Then we got on top of that vent medic, critical care paramedic, all these different things. So I can't hire somebody off the street and train them up. I have to hire them already trained, licensed by the state. That's hard. Fewer and fewer people are getting involved in this business. We try to look at why. One of the things, I just don't think the information's out there. The rescue squads used to be more robust. You had a lot more young folks getting involved into the rescue squads, and then they would work their way up and get involved with EMS. There's just not as much of that anymore. So we've got to think outside the box and how to get people interested in doing what we do, or there's not going to be enough of us to go around at some point. And that is one of my biggest concerns in my job right now, is how do I keep my ambulances staffed with qualified, trained, licensed people? And it's getting hard. And we're getting to the point where all the agencies are competing for the same small group of people. I'm seriously, quite honestly, worried about what's going to happen in a few years on how we're going to navigate this. We've got some ideas. That's what I was doing the training all week. We got a lot of smart people at workforce. How do we get people interested in what we do? How do we approach the right people? What is it they need to see? So we're working on that. So that's why I was a little late today. You asked a whole bunch of EMTs and paramedics for an opinion. They all have at least one. So it took me a little while to get here. But the training we do a lot of in-depth training. We have our own instructor coordinators inside, so we can do state-accredited continuing education hours. Got a lot of different things to train on. We're almost completely paperless in everything we do with EMS now, with electronic medical records. We do electronic timekeeping, electronic inventory, everything that we possibly can. We do from a tough book or an iPad or something. Cutting edge medical treatments, one thing that I was going to, another first. I hate to sound like I'm bragging, but I guess I am. We were the first in the state of Tennessee, and honestly, I don't know how far you got to go to find ambulances, 911 ambulances that have true full-fledged transport ventilators on them. And every one of our 911 ambulances has a full-fledged transport ventilator on it. Now, there's some out here with little rescue ventilators. You just put it on and it ventilates every so often, but there's no adjustments and it has no feedback. We're carrying anywhere from $20,000 to $35,000 ventilators, but the patient care that allows us to give, along with the critical care cardiac monitors that we carry, is invaluable. The information each one of them is giving you about your patient, the adjustments you can make, it's incredible. I am proud of it. Like I said, I know we were the first in the state of Tennessee because when I called Nashville and said, hey, I want to do this. And they're like, well, nobody's ever done that. I said, I get it. You have to be a certified vent medic or a certified critical care medic to do an interfacility transfer with a patient on a ventilator. So if you're a Holston Valley on a ventilator and you need to go to Vanderbilt on a ventilator, it takes a specially trained paramedic to do that. I said, well, I want all of them doing it. And I see in the rules it says to go from point A to point B on a ventilator, these are the requirements you have to make. I said, I can't find anything in the rules that says that I can't do it on a 911 call. As in, if we RSI somebody, knock them down, paralyze them, take their breathing away from them. And the only time we're doing that is trying to prevent, someone with head injury or somebody like that. We're trying to lower their intracranial pressure or cardiac arrest, things like that. The more we can get machines doing, the better off it is. So they agreed. We got everybody involved, got the state medical director involved, the EMS director and state, and all these. And like, well, we can't tell you no because there's no rule that says no. So we did it. And it's great. It's great, again, for the patients. It's now, honestly, with cardiac arrest, we added, we don't have it on every ambulance yet, we have mechanical CPR devices on some of our ambulances that actually does the chest compressions for us. So you get somebody with that doing the chest compressions, you put them on a ventilator, you got them hooked to your cardiac monitor, you work cardiac arrest with one person. And all they're doing is pushing buttons and pushing drugs. And it's great because the patient's getting what they need ventilation-wise, chest compression-wise, and all the medic's thinking about is what's going on with that cardiac monitor and the feedback they're getting, what medications they need to give, and things like that. So it's wonderful stuff, and I can say without a doubt, right here in Sullivan County is the only place you'll get that. Anywhere in the state of Tennessee, and I would dare say east of Mississippi, there can't be more than a handful in the entire nation, if there's any more. I really don't know. Never heard of it. There's all that. I don't need to go over that, right? So that was the auto pulse was the mechanical CPR device I was talking about. The mechanical load system, if you ask one of our EMTs or paramedics what's the best thing we ever bought, they won't tell you ventilators and critical care paramedics and auto pulses. They'll tell you the mechanical load systems. And what that is I don't know how many of you have seen, I know if you have, you push the stretcher's power, you push a button, it raises it and lowers itself. You push it up to the back of the ambulance, you push a button, there's arms comes out the back of the ambulance, grabs the stretcher, picks the stretcher up, you just push it in the truck. You're not doing any lifting. And we call them back savers. If you're in this business for a long time and you're lifting as much as we lift, honestly, I don't think we could have bought them anything any better. I think it's $750,000 to upgrade all of our trucks to that. We were able to get that through some grant money, so that was a huge help there. But honestly, the best thing we've bought for our folks, and they'll tell you that. All the ambulance internet capable. Of course, like I was mentioning earlier on the STEMI program, we transmit the EKGs to the communication center. From there, they can send them to the ER. They can have ER doc look at them. They can send them straight to cardiologists, have cardiologists look at them. Whatever they want to do, they can send it wherever. And that is a good thing about technology in today's world. But having all the trucks hot is with internet capabilities been huge. And also it allows us on the EMR part, if we've transported a patient recently, we can actually go in there and pull that up and see their history and see what's been going on with them and help with patient care on that side of things. So I've covered all this stuff. That's why I'm not good with PowerPoints, especially I don't familiarize myself with it. But so yeah, there we go back to the early recognition of heart attacks, transmission, the advanced treatment. I didn't cover that very well, so we don't just notice and diagnose these things and tell them we're coming with them. There's a lot of things we do in the field treating these patients that helps them. We started years ago, and they thought we were crazy too. We started pushing heparin in the field. Well, nobody did that. Well, we started doing it, and years ago it was Plavix, to keep them from clotting more, and now we're giving Brilinta and other medications and things like that. Basically what we're doing is we're trying to get everything on board for that patient, everything done for that patient that needs to be done to have them ready to go on the cath lab table. So there's very little prep has to be done. That's done while we're rolling down the road. It just saves more time, saves more heart muscle. So that's the point of that, which ultimately provides quicker access to cardiac intervention. That works. So we have 100 plus full-time, part-time employees. We do utilize a first response system with the municipal fire departments, Kingsport, Bristol, the 10 volunteer fire departments, 4 rescue squads, the helicopters in the area, and that's something. We are a unique department in that sense, and I like it. We're the only department in the county that routinely works with every department in this county. We work with all city law enforcement. We work with county law enforcement, state law enforcement, volunteer fire, paid fire, both cities. It's a unique situation we're in. Deal with multiple dispatch centers. It's unique. You just get used to where you're at in the county and kind of how things work. But we're definitely in a unique position with that. And our first responder agencies are invaluable. Kingsport Fire helps respond on emergency calls inside the city. We obviously, like I said, we don't have the auto pulses on every truck, so a lot of calls we need extra help. We just need extra hands. Sometimes even if it's just a driver, we need extra hands on some of these calls. There's only 2 of us in that ambulance. And then, like I said, the rescue squads, the volunteer fire departments, everybody's a big help. Helicopters, we don't fly a lot of patients, just the way we're laid out in the county. Flew one yesterday. I'll be interested to see what was going on with that one. Well, we don't fly a lot. And then back to specialized services, we get to get out and cut cars and play with all those tools and bike medics, and we try to give them a variety of things to do. So 22 ambulances. We do have some all-terrain vehicles that we use in different areas. Muddy Creek, the motocross track, we go down there, cover those. You definitely need something down there. Fun Fest, we run around, and some of the ball games. And sometimes we'll have, somebody fall off a tree stand or something like that up mountains and need to get to them. Or have a heart attack while they're hunting or whatever. So people find the weirdest places to have their heart attacks. It's strange. The whole thing that everybody says, lift right, lift with your, squat and lift. No. They're between the toilet and the sink. It ain't happening. So the use of our tactical rescue teams, bike medics, like I said, all those things. So some other things we do occasionally: prom promise, seatbelt safety courses, synthetic drug awareness, first responder programs, partner in EMT and paramedic. We partner with the colleges and helping with that. We do a lot of preceptorship for them. They send folks over, they ride on our ambulances and try to get some hands-on training. That's where it's at. You learn a lot in the classroom, but it's really more about out there in the field, seeing it happening, doing it. We go out, we offer a lot of training to our local first responder agencies like the rescue squads, fire departments, like I said, medical standbys for Fun Fest, Bristol Motor Speedway, Muddy Creek, high school athletics, community and civic events. Bull riding's a new thing, right? The MMA stuff's new. Do some public education. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But like I said, anybody has any questions or anything they're curious about, please feel free. Yes, sir.